Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we're super happy to have you here. And if you've been listening and enjoying for a while, I would be super grateful if you would please take a moment to give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It's one of the best and simplest ways to pay it forward and help others find the show so that they too can tap into the powerful perspectives and positive vibrations we are collectively emanating. The other unique and magical way to share this show is by sending any friends you think would benefit from listening to this podcast our Game with the Universe link at positivehead.com/game. Also listed in the show notes, which will serve them up a quote-unquote random episode when they click it. Just instruct them before clicking the link to close their eyes for a moment and sincerely ask the universe to cue up the episode that contains the insight and perspectives that they most need to hear at this point in their life journey, and then click to listen to whatever episode is synchronistically served up to them. I have heard time and time again from people about the incredible results they received playing the game. So just tell your friends magical results are guaranteed or their karma back.
All right, all you positive heads, welcome. Welcome one and all. Thank you so much for joining me on this magical today. Today, I want to start with just a couple announcements. One, I want to remind everyone about the Stairway to the Stars event being put on by Disclosure Fest and Fade to Black. This event is happening in Vegas in November, the 10th, 11th, and 12th of November at the Luxor. This event is going to be so spectacular. I'm really looking forward to it, and I have the honor of being on a QHHT panel at this event. Also, just recently added, you've heard my friend Aaron Gannon here on the show. He will be at this event offering breathwork, a group breathwork session, which is going to be fabulous because I might be one of the helpers there at that breathwork session. So there's going to be so much to do, so many speakers to see and friends to meet. If you've ever wanted to see Bashar in person, here's an opportunity to do it. So Vegas, November 11th, is the day that the QHHT panel is, and that's the entire weekend. Go to disclosurefest.org if you want to learn more, or you can even find the information on my own website, which is drerica.love. And there I have a little spot that says upcoming events, and you can always check and see, hey, what kind of events do I have going on? Well, there's two right now. One is the Stairway to the Stars event that I just told you about. The other is a fun new event that my colleagues Tracy Mahan and Monica Dunn and I put together called Psychic Skills 101. And in this workshop that we're going to be doing on October 28th, we're going to be going through all of the beginner skills to working with your telepathy, to reading the tarot. And I'm going to be teaching that in a different way than what you would normally expect. I'm going to be teaching it in terms of the archetypal journey of our existence, of the mind, body, and spirit existence that we are here learning so that we can tap into these aspects of ourselves, so we can tap in easier and have more recognition of our higher self. And Tracy is going to be teaching the beginning of mediumship so that you can tap into some of your relatives or loved ones who are on the other side. So this is going to be a really fun workshop. This is October 28th. The end of this month, and you can find that on my website, drerica.love. Now, let's get to today. I have to get all that out of the way because I will forget by the time I get talking, and I'll get to the end of the show and I'll say, oh, I forgot to mention Stairway to the Stars. This is going to be such a fun event. I would really love to see you guys there. And if you are there, please give me a shout, say hello, give me a hug. I love to hug you guys and meet you and see you in person because it's always so much fun. All right, back to today. Today, someone sent me a clip from Teal Swan's interview last week with Brandon talking about past life regression and how a past life can actually be a smokescreen to this life's traumas and actually avoiding what's going on in this current life. And so they asked me to address this. And what I first want to say is, I agree with her. A past life regression, a simple past life regression, can be exactly that. And I've seen this a lot in my own work, meaning when someone has done a regular old past life regression, or maybe even worse, had someone else read them and tell them what their past lives are or what they think that they might have been. Well, this can get so incredibly distorting for our human minds because when we just do these simple exercises of popping into a past life, well, let me tell you what, we've had like thousands, thousands and thousands, most likely, most of us have. And for the most part, the majority of those lives are completely irrelevant to this life now. And if we are popping into those lives just all willy-nilly, no intention, I just want to see a past life, I don't have a reason for wanting to do this past life. I'm not trying to seek out healing here. I want to learn. I'm curious. And that's cool too. At the same time, when we just do it for these kind of reasons, we pop into any old life and we learn these things, oh yes, this is why I'm this way. It really doesn't help us on this journey. It doesn't help us understand why we are the way that we are today in the ways that we have developed in this life. And oftentimes when we leave a simple past life regression or one of those reading type past life regressions, we often leave with more questions than we have answers. Or like Teal said, we grab onto something and then use that as the excuse for this is the way we are, the way we are. And this does not help us at all on our healing journey. And when we do a different type of regression journey, there are many different kinds of regression journey. The one that I do, for example, may or may not be a past life regression. It's a regression. It's a regression into the multi-dimensional realities, timelines that we exist on simultaneously right now. But we go into this with intention. Not only do we go in with intention to what's going on in my life now, but we do a whole lot of exploring and examination of your current life and your traumas before going in to a session like this. So there's a simple past life regression, and there's something like what I do. What I do is called quantum healing hypnosis technique. And this is not a simple past life regression technique. This goes way, way, way further. And it is incredibly helpful and healing for people in their journeys in this life. Here's one of the things that happens all the time, and it's lovely. When people come in to my office, I see everyone. I see all walks of life, all different levels of spiritual understanding. People who woke up 3 months ago and people who've been on this journey for 40 years or more, it's everyone. And it's so fun because I get to meet everyone where they're at and work with them on all these different levels. When I have people who come in and they're, been studying this stuff for a while and they know they have an Atlantean life, they know they have this ET life, they know they're Lemurian, they know all these things. I'm Arcturian, I'm this, I'm that. Oftentimes I find exactly what Teal was saying, where it's just a distraction. That's not actually helping them on their path today. And they actually come in and they're thinking, yeah, I'm going to see this life. And oftentimes, 99.9% of the time, that is not what they are shown. That's not what they are shown because their higher self is showing them something more relevant to what's going on in their life now. And oftentimes, that's not a past life.
Before we continue on with today's episode, for those of you interested in getting more fantastic fungi in your life, I want to take a quick moment to tell you about a friend of mine's brand new company, The Great Mother. Recently, I have been drinking The Great Mother's superfood mushroom coffee alternative called Ritual, as well as regularly taking their awesome Ally microdoses, and I am truly loving both. As you probably know, these days, many of the world's highest achievers and performers swear by microdosing. The problem is it can still be difficult to get a hold of magic mushrooms. That's why when my friend reached out, who lives in an area and country where legalization is not a problem like it was in the past, and said he'd be willing to offer microdoses to my listeners, I wanted to pass the word along. Ally microdoses are 100% organic. And in addition to a small amount of the magic active ingredient, they also contain functional mushrooms like lion's mane, cordyceps, chaga, and other brain boosters like bacopa. Ally is essentially a full spectrum nootropic. And of course, the coffee alternative Ritual doesn't contain magic mushrooms, but it has an array of the best organic functional mushrooms in the world. And, with functional mushrooms, it's really important to get them from the highest integrity sources. And whereas some other highly popular mushroom coffee alternatives on the market only contain a few varieties of functional mushrooms in their actual ingredients, Ritual has 7. Not only does it contain more types, it also contains 3 to 4 times the amount that the big brands have in each serving. And it tastes amazing. I actually like to have it on its own, as well as mixing it into my coffee sometimes as well. However, since this is definitely a unique offering, there are a few steps. First, just reach out and request to follow the private page, thegreat.mother on Instagram. Once you've been accepted to follow, just message what you're interested in getting and someone will get back to you.
I would say that maybe 20%, maybe. No, maybe I'll go a little bit more. Maybe 30. 30% of the people who I regress into a memory of their own multi-dimensional self that is relevant to now, that is a reflection of now so they can learn about now. Each and every time, most of the time, it's not a past life. Just that small percentage there. Usually, they're shown either a future, a parallel, a completely symbolic scene. Regardless of what it is that they are shown, it doesn't matter. None of it matters. The specifics, the details, the actual life, where it was, what era, doesn't matter at all. What matters is the story, is the concept, is the feeling. What are we learning here in this story? What are we learning about ourselves in this story? And how does it relate to the current life now? So this is why I find regression work so incredibly fun. It's because when you go into it with intention, with knowledge of the person that you're working with, to understand where those traumas actually are, so you know the kind of questions that you need to ask as a practitioner. For myself, when I sit and talk with a client, I know exactly what questions to ask so that they can get the answers for themselves. And that right there, what I just said, is the most valuable aspect of doing regression work. Because when we, even just on the surface, are able to tap in to these aspects, these other dimensional aspects, that's incredibly empowering, isn't it? To know that in our minds, we have this access, that within ourselves, when we get quiet, we can find our answers. That is the most empowering thing that I can think of. Because when we know that the power is within us, that we have all of our answers, that we have all of this guidance, this intuition that is so incredibly strong within us, always guiding us, never lying to us. That is power. That is incredible power. The only power that trumps that is love, of course. And when you can have that love for yourself, included with this power within, knowing that you have access to all of this, you are game on. This existence becomes magic. Not like it already isn't, but you get it. You get it that it's magic, and you get to create with all of this magic that you have this power and access to. So this is one of the reasons why I love the work that I do, because without actually having the practice of going into the depths of your mind in this way and understanding for yourself from yourself a new perspective, gaining a new thought perspective to change that thought focus, to change the energetic direction in which you're going, because you were just shown a scene, a scenario, a life in which you've done this already, a life in which you've made these decisions, and you wish you would have done them differently. So here's a new perspective, and here's how to look at this trauma that happened to you, and here's why. And there's so many different reasons why. And sometimes it has to do with the past life. I can count, there's a few, there's not many, but there are a few clients in my career that I can think of that come into my office that don't have severe trauma. We all have trauma, right, in our lives. We don't get away from it. Every single one of us experiences trauma. Not every single one of us experiences severe trauma or ongoing severe trauma. Different story. So I've had a handful of clients who've come in who've had, regular run-of-the-mill, everyday trauma, nothing severe, good lives, what you would call it, okay? A good, happy life. And they have this emotion within them, the client I'm thinking of right now, for example, anger and depression. And she had no reason to be angry, no reason to be sad. I talk to my clients for 2 hours about their entire life. Trust me, I get in there. I try to find it. And I know if they're holding something back. Nothing. There was nothing there. But she just had this energy since she was little, always remembered it, didn't know why. Well, she was taken right into a past life in Atlantis where she was experiencing the destruction, watching the wave come over. She knew it was going to happen. She tried to help. She tried to send a message out. She tried to get people to listen, and no one would. She tried to get people out. Again, all of these things happened that made her angry and sad. And she left that life with that energy and came into this life with that energy. And now having this understanding, oh, I see where that came from now. I understand the lesson that I was learning there because it's relevant to my life now in whatever way they explained that to her. I'm not remembering now, but it was relevant to her life now. There's a certain pattern that is similar because as souls, we are learning lessons. And if we don't learn it in one life, then we come back and we do it in another. And oftentimes there's a lot of souls here who are doing this over and over and over and over again, unfortunately, stuck in this karmic wheel, not learning the lesson. And so getting to see all these different lives where you're not learning the lesson, to be able to learn it in this life, that's gold. That's 100% gold. And to be able to understand this infinite power that is within each and every single one of us. We all have our own answers, and they're so easy to tap into. It's so incredibly easy to tap into these answers. It just requires being quiet, surrendering, allowing. Very, very simple. When we do this type of work, we are able to look at our traumas in a different way, to gain a new perspective on them, and to be able to heal, move on, move forward in this life. So I felt it was incredibly important to address this because not all past life regressions are created equal. If you want to do a regression type of session, work like this in general, make sure you're doing it with a technique like QHHT, or maybe even Brian Weiss or Dr. Michael Newton. Those are also lovely techniques. I think that Dolores Cannon's technique is the most stellar one of them all, but that's my opinion. Of course, I practice her technique. Whatever it is that you choose, make sure it is one with a practitioner who is willing, able to understand you and wants to work with you and help you understand this life. It is not about all those other lives in your Arcturian aspect or your Lemurian aspect or your Egyptian queenness. None of that matters in this life unless you're still repeating that same lesson. The majority of us are not. It's just fun and fascinating, and it ends there. Overall, this work can be incredibly healing when it's done with the right technique and it's not just this willy-nilly one-off, let's go step in and tap into one of my tens of thousands of past lives. I think that's going to be it for me today, everyone. I love you all so much. And I'm going to leave you with this song by Wild Light, Ours to Give. Until next time, I love you all.
In it comes swift in the nick of time, like a wild light. And it turns the tables like a rhythm, like a fury might, leaving nothing unseen. And you ask it why it came, it says, you spoke me here, I am your corners uncovered, I am. And it pulls the blinders from your sleeping, casts you inside. Inside it goes and out it's pouring you here. We are ancient, a wind that carries the rough seed. And we are young and foolish, a reckless whim. You're turning in, look deeper in, to the grinding shoal of the swiftest change. And all we may recall what's ours to give, what's ours to give. In it comes course to your current, short through your veins, like a flood furious and flashing among your limbs will be bound unless bade to be set free. The ties and tightening, and only made of what you make of them. You wove them here to every corner, uncovered they lead. So you pull your blinders from your sleeping, set on your way. Let all the subtle speak on through your ripple out here. We are ancient, a wind that carries the rough seed. And we are young and foolish, a reckless whim. You're turning in, look deeper in, to the grinding shoal of the swiftest change. And all we may recall what's ours to give, what's ours to give. To the brightening home of the ever change. And all it may recall what's ours to give, what's ours to give. Recall what's ours to give, what's ours to give.